Welcome to Head-to-Heads using analytics to drive better business outcomes and advance talent acquisition. This webinar was recorded on Wednesday, March 27th, 2013. On this webinar, the main presenter was Adam Cooper. He's the Associate Director of Talent Acquisition at Loyalty One. Featured presenters were Kim Benedict, Head of Client Services at Head-to-Head, and Steve Johnson, the VP of People Insight at Quirk. If you do have any questions after the recorded session, please feel free to give them a call or reach out to them about the content. A quick overview of what you're going to hear today on the live session that was recorded. We'll hear Adam's story as he joined Loyalty One on January 2012, what he's doing today within his organization on his plate. So feel free to reach out to the presenters, and I hope you enjoy the session as well as the question and answer session that was recorded at the end.
Sure. I believe we all have the ability to up our game, and one great way to do this is share our experiences and learn from one another as we work through these new and exciting areas. It makes sense to start this story from the beginning. When I first joined Loyalty One and talked to some of the challenges we faced in talent acquisition from a reporting perspective. At the time I joined, reporting was taking place on a weekly basis to the executive committee of Loyalty One. I immediately thought, wonderful, we've got something good going here. But as I dug deeper, reporting weekly was not necessarily a good thing. Report was very basic. It comprised of openings, year-to-date hires, the average days open by line of business, so it just scraped the surface. It was pulled together with data from Excel, HR's favorite tool, and as I'm sure many of you have also experienced, there was inconsistency in terms of what was being captured, including significant formatting gaps. The reality was that for the recruiters on the team, there was no accountability, and they did not see the value of the report or believe the information was being interpreted or analyzed. No one was coming back to them and asking them the tough questions. For example, we had roles over 200 days just crushing our time to fill metric. This resulted in a reporting situation where during presentations to the executive committee, our COO and other leaders were constantly identifying errors in reporting, and it caused significant pain for our SVP of HR. The net of it was that data that was being presented was not to be trusted. With no interpretation or no insight into the trends or recommendations to help the executive, the report was largely ignored. Given the challenges with the reporting, I took a number of steps to improve this. First of all, I engaged quickly with our HR leadership and the business to understand what they wanted most in terms of reporting. Quite simply, they wanted accurate and reliable reports. They wanted consistent reports that were easy to read. At this point, they were less concerned about fancy reporting than trust in the data. Secondly, I asked my team what they wanted to do because I needed their buy-in. I needed them on board on the reporting exercise would fail. I gave them the option of continuing to use Excel or using our PeopleSoft ATS. Overwhelmingly, they chose Excel because the ATS was too slow and too time-consuming to manage the requisition reporting. To provide more accountability, I set specific goals that were aligned to our top 10 corporate critical imperatives. That's right. Talent acquisition had goals as part of key organizational objectives in 2012. The main reason talent acquisition was part of this was because it was a real pain point for Loyalty One in 2011 and needed to be fixed. The goals we set were specifically around time to fill, and we put the metric of 85% of all positions filled in under 90 days. Secondly, we developed a quality of hire survey where the requirement was to get a rating of 4 or 5 out of a 5-point scale, with 5 being the best. And source of hire and cost of hire were pushed aside so that we could focus on ensuring our most important metrics were measured accurately and done now. What were the outcomes? The results of all this was that the executive were very happy with the new reporting. Unfortunately, I wasn't satisfied with this as the end game. I still wanted more. Although the executive were happy with the reporting, it got to a point where I wasn't hearing from them that much. What I wanted to do was get to a stage where they were sharing their thoughts more and more often, raising questions and asking for specific information, insight from the data. By year end of 2012, I was ready to take our reporting and our understanding to the next level. So before we examine barriers to evolve reporting, we're going to go to our first poll question. And the first poll question today is, does your company measure quality of hire? And there will be three opportunities to respond. So there will be yes, no, or I don't know. So take a couple moments to answer that poll question for us.
Great question, Adam. And actually, just to give you some real-time results to the audience, 63% that responded to our first poll question said no, their company does not measure quality of hire. Very interesting.
All right. So we'll cover a little bit more on that question later in this presentation, but thank you for participating in that. And we have one more poll coming up shortly. So getting to the barriers to evolve reporting, there were two key barriers at Loyalty One to evolve the reporting in the way I wanted. Number one, we have an ATS system we're not happy with and are not using effectively, and it does not have the required reporting we need. Secondly, our HRIS and ATS systems were not fully integrated, and reporting for our quality of hire and our Excel recruiting report were not integrated in any way. I did not have the flexibility to go run out and purchase a new ATS system right away, as we were just going through a global ATS RFP. In the end, what I really wanted was a solution that could, one, seamlessly pull all these reporting options together and create simple reports. Secondly, help me drive better performance in my own team through coaching on measurable data points. And thirdly, equip our senior leadership with accurate and actionable information to enable better decisions around headcount and forecasting. To be honest, given our technology situation today, and I'm sure many of you are in the same boat that we are, I thought this solution was probably 2 to 3 years away. So what was the solution? And to really help me with my pain? Well, through referral from our friends at Head to Head, they provided an introduction to Quark and their People Insight solution. What did this mean for me? First of all, I had a new software tool and a consultant to help me consolidate all my key reports from various systems. I could now anticipate my executives' needs for reporting versus having fear of receiving the next ad hoc report or metric request and worrying about how long this was going to take me to create and develop in Excel. I now had the technical tools at my disposal to drive performance and establish better recruiter scorecards. Within days of uploading our recruitment data to People Insight, I was able to do a couple important things immediately. I could now take new hire report from PeopleSoft, my monthly recruitment report from Excel, and a CSV file from SurveyMonkey where we were capturing our quality of hire surveys in its most raw data form and turn that data into art. And this could happen quickly. I no longer had to spend hours, I would say 5 hours at a time pulling some of these reports together, and this would take me an hour. I could pull nice looking reports and metrics with a click of a button on a cloud-based solution. And it enabled me to quickly sort and break down the data by departments, by positions, by locations. Wherever data we captured, we could sort and break down that data easily. Before we get into some samples of types of reports we are leveraging, we have a second and our last poll question of the webinar. So our second question is, does your company align workforce planning with talent acquisition? And there are three answers: yes, no, or I don't know. So take a moment to please answer that question for us.
Thank you, everybody, for answering our second poll. Again, just to give you some real-time results, great news. 40% of our audience today said that yes, in fact, their company does align workforce planning with talent acquisition. 40% said no, and 20% are unclear or don't know. Also wanted to let everyone know that we will be taking questions and answers at the end of Adam's presentation. So we encourage you to start sending Victor your questions or any comments that you may have so we can address as much of those discussions at the end of our presentation. Adam, back to you.
Great. Thank you, Kim. So now we're going to get into some of the insight areas and show you some sample reports that we're using today and moving forward with. So we're focused on, I would say, 3 key areas. One is around interactive analytics. The second is around connecting to first-year outcomes. And thirdly, what are some of the reporting components that we're pulling together to customize for our executive committee at Loyalty One? So on your screen here, you'll see a couple sample reports. This isn't real live Loyalty One data, so sorry I can't share that at this point. But certainly this should give you a bit of a snapshot of some of the sample reports that we're leveraging. So the first one, just in behind the blue and orange report there, is an open requisition dashboard that we developed with 4 specific charts. So you're looking at number of open requisitions by line of business, number of requisitions by date. One of the key things that we like to measure is variations in number of recs that are open in certain data chunks. So how many recs do we have open in the less than 30 days? How many do we have open less than 90 days? And then we put some special attention on requisitions that are open longer than 90 days. So this is a good snapshot for both me and for our executives to see things quite quickly. The fun report I thought I'd share, and this is something that Steve helped me with and I didn't really think about when I was going into this, is the first report there is really looking at measuring percentage open versus filled by month. And what that means is that we can look at over the year, so this is a sample of, say, 2012. The blue means that, say, for example, in January, 100% of those roles have been filled by year end. What was very interesting for us as we examined the data and drilled down is that by year end we were noticing that, hey, in August of last year, we noticed that 21% of our August roles were still open by year end versus September only had 5%. So it enabled us to make some questions about what was different about August? What was it that caused those roles to be delayed and being filled? Was it through vacations? Was it through travel or hard to fill positions? So it enabled us to look at the data in a different way. The next reports get into some of the more engaging reports that our executive committee really found fascinating. And the one in the forefront there is our report that we designed for quality of hire. So what we did is we took the 4 most important questions as part of our quality of hire survey that is completed by both our hiring manager and the manager once removed. So the manager once removed is the manager just above that manager. And we examined quality of hire scores. Would we hire this person again? Is this person on track for learning the job? And are they aligned to cultural attributes? And each on a full 5-point scale. So what was nice is that we could see immediately if they were rated a 1 or 2, it comes up stoplight red. And we knew when to escalate to that's the HR business partners or put some special attention there as being a concern. Then what we did is we drilled down even further with that data and we pulled the question that we also ask is, did other top performers know this person? And this is where it was like a real aha moment for us. And what we examined is, what was the impact of us knowing this person either through referrals or internally or through our market? And we overwhelmingly found that in the quality of hire score, 95% of the people that we knew or top performers knew were successful in their first 6 months versus those that weren't known to us or didn't have a connection to the company beforehand at 79%. And then what was even more fascinating is that there was even a bigger gap. It brought us to look at some key questions for us around how we're recruiting people, are we asking the right questions, and are we looking at the right talent to fit our culture? And then the report in the background is just examining first-year turnover. So not many companies, I don't think, have first-year turnover owned by talent acquisition, and this is something that we really drove for, to say, hey, we want to examine the last 3 years of turnover in the first year and really break that down and link that with the quality of hire survey and with first-year performance ratings.
Adam, I have a quick question. How, at Loyalty One, how long does the talent acquisition team own the quality of hire? For example, is it 6 months? Is it 3 months? How long do you own the quality of that particular placement?
Great question. I think for us, in our flexibility, I think at the 6-month period is probably where we stop, but it's in our best interest to escalate any concerns to the HR business partners to say, hey, there's an issue with this person. Is this person salvageable, or is this person already on a performance improvement plan and being managed? But certainly, we want to see our people successful. Mm-hmm. But I think being realistic, the 6-month is probably where we focus on.
Great, thank you.
The next slides are just showing what we have as our sort of standardized executive reporting. And most of you are probably quite familiar with this and do similar reports today. And it's really tracking, the must-haves, open positions, average time to fill, average time open, and year-over-year hiring. I think what stood out for the executive committee here is that there's real great functionality to sort that data they want. So we could do it by a company level, or if the executive said, hey, I want to see what IT looks like, can you break that down for me? Easily do that report in the click of a button. So some of you are probably thinking, I have a solid ATS and an HRIS with great reporting. Do I really need something like this? I can definitively say that this saves me time, my team time, and others in HR time. The reduced hours alone are making a significant impact in our team and getting us out of the mud of mucking around in Excel and having risk of more errors in our reporting. I've just started sharing our new metrics as they relate to recruitment and quality of hire, and our executive leadership has really been blown away. Typically, I don't hear much from this group, but since the last meeting, I have heard 4 of our execs raving about how much they like these new changes. They love the look of the reports, and they especially like our quality of hire metrics reporting. With their help with Champion Quality of Hire surveys, we have averaged a completion rate of those surveys at 39%, and it has grown steadily each time it has been rolled out. And we implemented this in June of 2012. As my SVP of HR has said, if we can get to a point where we're using this tool to help us with workforce planning, for example, we will be light years ahead of where we are today. So what are the key outcomes? Things are moving really quickly for us, but it is important to reflect on how far we've come in such a short time. It's been just over a year that I started at Loyalty One, and under 3 months, I've been working with Quirk and People Insight. With the analytics solution we've implemented, I've been able to do the following things. Save time, effort, and frustration of working in the weeds of Excel. So that's, looking at saving, 5 hours of time, going down to 1 hour of my time. Access and interact with the data, being able to slice and dice any way possible, filter at the speed of a thought. It's quicker than any ATS or PeopleSoft software, and you don't require a manual to figure it out. If you need help, there's a consultant just a phone call away to assist you. Steve has been wonderful supporting me in my solution here, and I'm now looking at data with a totally different lens, making me ask some questions. Are we capturing data in the right way through each of our systems? What data is necessary to build alignment and relationships with these reports? And how do I best report as we look at integrating a new ATS system? Other outcomes have been engagement within my team in reporting and accountability. I would say that, when I started, probably 85% compliance was happening. Now we're at least 98%. You're able to produce, as I've mentioned multiple times, accurate, reliable, consistent, and attractive reports for the executives to read and understand. These executives don't have time to look through paper and reports and reports. You got to keep it simple. One of the more important things I would say, though, has been connecting recruiting data to first-year outcomes. Recruiters can no longer take the blame for bad hires. For first-year performance and turnover, executives understand that there is a joint ownership between hiring managers and recruiters on who we hire. Making connections between talent acquisition and HR and the business at large. Our total rewards team is now lining up to see how they could leverage a similar tool to help them. We've raised the profile of talent acquisition within the organization as a champion of analytics, accountable and committed to drive better business outcomes. Performance in my team is much better understood. We as an analytics company are top of our business in the loyalty space, and I don't see why we as a talent acquisition team can't be top of our game when it comes to analytics. We have evolved from time to fill to quality of hire, and my advice, as a talent acquisition leader, is be wary of how you use your surveys with your managers. A lot of managers are surveyed out, and if there is one survey that you're going to get implemented, this is the type of survey that you need to do, because it's going to get some of that 360 feedback you need, but it's going to measure the key performance indicators that are essential for you and your success. So even though we are thrilled with how far we've come in such a short time, I'm always thinking, where can we go next? And I have a few things already in motion and planned for more that I'll share with you going forward here. So the first is quality of hire survey. I've talked a lot about that. I'm currently using SurveyMonkey, which it's just a decent tool in its own right, but is very manual. What we're going to be doing next is being able to upload a customized PeopleSoft hire report that will drive an automated survey from People Insight. By doing this, we can eliminate half the questions we ask our managers because we already have that data captured. Quality hire is not just a survey, but a combination of the survey, first-year turnaround, and your first-year performance rating of those individuals. Secondly, we're measuring recruiter and hiring manager performance. We are also going to be loading up first-year turnover data and first-year performance rating to measure recruiter and hiring manager performance together. Thirdly, probably one of our most important goals for 2013 is around workforce planning. Our most important goal is to partner with finance to build a report for workforce planning where both HR and finance are speaking the same language for the business and are a united front. And finally, advanced analytics and predictive capabilities. Here's where things can get really fun and exciting. As reporting becomes aligned, we'll be able to start mapping out our relationship data and building ideal candidate profiles. This means that we can begin predicting in both short and long term what candidates are most successful fits in Loyalty One through competitors, other industries, referrals, etc. We can build out more in-depth scorecards for hiring managers and recruiters. We can illustrate how much it is costing lines of business when they make poor quality hires and have high first-year turnover. We can draw connections between business performance and performance of talent. If we build this out to long-term turnover, for example, we can then begin predicting when someone is most likely to leave. So I've done a lot of talking, so now's an opportunity for folks on the line to ask some questions and have some further discussion. So thank you for your time today and providing me with the opportunity to share more about Loyalty One.
Thanks, Adam. Excellent presentation. Love your passion and your enthusiasm. for talent acquisition, and very impressed with what you've been able to do in such a short period of time. I have a couple of quick questions for you, and then we have some questions that we've come from our audience, some excellent questions that I think will provide some more insight. So quick question around the actual uploading of data. Some of the conversations that I've had regarding the People Insight tool, and one of the challenges I think a lot of talent acquisition leaders have is they don't really have or feel that they have integrity in the data that they have. They may have requisitions that appear to be open, but maybe they've been filled. And so one of the, I guess, challenges or perceptions is that the data won't produce the right type of information to make better business decisions. What are your thoughts? Or, you mentioned that you sort of started with something that was pretty basic. What would you say with regards to that?
Well, right now, I'll be honest, we haven't been able to get away from Excel, and part of that is just our ATS system with the limitations there. But certainly, the reason why we stuck with Excel is that it's much more controllable, and I can audit that data. The recruiters can audit that data. Yes, it's a little bit more manual, but when you have the recruiter double-checking their work, I'm double-checking their work, it's going to be much more accurate than, say, some of the stuff that we're seeing in PeopleSoft, where there might be some gaps in time to fill. But certainly, that's one piece. But then from a PeopleSoft, for example, perspective, you have to hire people accurately. So the hire data is there, but the recruiting data isn't there, and we can't bridge that relationship the way it's set up today, and that's where we're struggling. But with People Insights, I just have to have two separate reports and upload them, and then create some linkages that way.
Perfect. And you talked a little bit about the fact early days that you provided some enhanced reporting through Excel to the executive team, and then no news was good news, and now this has certainly taken talent acquisition to another level. How has now having access to this data elevated your personal brand among the business at Loyalty One?
Couple things. I think first of all, the executives, as I mentioned, didn't trust the data, so they couldn't tell if talent acquisition was doing a good job or not. They thought that probably not. So the advantage there is that if you're getting the data right, because business people, they want to see raw data. They don't want to hear HR people saying, "Oh yeah, we're doing a great job," and because we're hearing this from people. No, they want to see numbers. They want to see results. And that's where you have to start building that credibility. And for us, that's where it started, is building credibility in the numbers to say, hey, our time to fill is X, and it was this. So that's where we've been able to instantly build that success. And then secondly, as recruiters start building relationships with the business, you get the 360 feedback verbally.
I think that's the difference when you start to move from a time to fill to a quality of hire. You really do become the trusted advisor and more of a strategic advisor than just simply producing transactional results. Great, thank you. So some questions from our audience that we'd like to address. This one's for Adam. Did Loyalty One have control of all of the aspects of time to fill in order to attain the 85% metric that you mentioned?
Great question, and I've been asked this before. Some of you might think that that's a bit of a robust number in some cases. I think we built that in so that there was some flexibility, and as many of you know, there are factors that can contribute to a late close. So hiring manager, one of the challenges we have is, multiple interviews for one fill. And it can really slow the process down. So we put in some metrics around when to put a position on hold or when to cancel a requisition. So for example, we'd say, hey, if your hiring manager is not responding to you in 10 days or they're not, being responsible or fair to you, put that role on hold. Put it on hold, and then that clock starts from scratch again, because that's hurting your metrics personally as a recruiter, and that's out of your control. So those were some of the mechanisms that we put into play to help build that performance. And managers were receptive to that. They said, yeah, that makes sense. I understand.
Thanks, Adam.
So don't be afraid to push back.
So another question, this question actually for Steve, from People Insight. Are you able to use the People Insight tool to break out the bottlenecks in the overall talent acquisition process?
Yeah, thanks, Kim. That's a great question. And the answer to that is yes. Within People Insight, you're able to get analytics on days in stage. So if within your talent acquisition process you're tracking the start date for various stages within that process, then when you load that in, we can create some great metrics and analytics to see where are those bottlenecks, where are you stuck. And those may vary depending on line of business, location, type of role, etc. And it's a great way to understand where those bottlenecks are and, as said, provide the visibility so you can take action and correct those both within the team and also with the hiring manager and line of business.
Thanks, Steve. Great question. Question for Adam. Adam, two-part question. Do you measure cost of hire at Loyalty One? And secondly, do you have a recruiter scorecard, and what would be on it?
Okay, I'll take the first question first. So metrics around cost per hire. Currently, I will say kind of no on this at the moment, and I'll explain that to you. One of the challenges we have is that when using agencies, for example, those costs go to the business directly. So we don't have a centralized capability to measure and track those costs easily. And when we do run those reports, the best I can do is get costing by department or business unit. So I can't break it down by role. I can't break it down by level. So there's some of our frustration. I think when we look at our new ATS system coming into play later this year, that's going to be something that we're going to really tackle. But to be honest, Loyalty One, we've been in a good position. The leadership has said, you know what, we are most concerned about quality of hire. If we have to pay from time to time, we'll do it for quality of hire. And so that hasn't been in our sort of top 5 goals, but it will be. And then the second question was around, have you done a recruiter scorecard, and what would be on it? Yes, so all the recruiters on the team do have to align to that metric of 85% of roles filled in 90 days, and similarly the quality of hire score. So we create that equal among the teams. Obviously there are some groups in the business, whether it's our call center or whether it's some of our more sophisticated lines of business, that may take a little bit longer to fill, but overall they are performing quite well there. And then certainly we link performance to our cultural values within Loyalty One. So are they aligning to our 3I leadership model and living the values of Loyalty One and partnering within our HR team, partnering with the business effectively and so forth. But certainly I can give those that are interested more details later on what some of the specifics are on that scorecard.
Thanks, Adam. Recruiter scorecard is definitely part of a hot topic as well as workforce analytics. I have a question for you, Adam, and I'm not sure if this has already been asked by the audience, but it's probably a question that I think a lot of people will be asking, is how did you, A, find the budget to, for a solution that you thought was years away, and how did you get the business to buy in? What was your thought process, or what were some of the tactics?
Yeah, great question, Kim. I think that couple things. At the near the tail end of last year, we were still leveraging one major job board. I won't say who it is, but this is a job board that my team felt was not being valuable, not being leveraged, and the ROI for hiring was next to nil. So we canceled that job board, and so I had some flexibility to leverage that extra money in 2013. Initially, I had it planned for some more social media component, but by the year end, Steve came knocking on the door and offering this option, so I had that. But ultimately, I did have the money, but I still had to win over my HR leaders. So speaking to our AVP of Talent Management and our SVP of IHR, I partnered with Steve to sort of build a slide deck on how I could take where our current executive report was and clearly walk through with them the enhancements. Here's what we're going to save in time. Here is what we're going to save in credibility with our executive, and really highlighting some of the things that were available. And the other key factor is there's a free trial, so there was no risk to testing it out. So I thought, okay, I've got 30 days to go through this, work this through, and if it doesn't work, no big deal, but it has. And certainly once the senior HR leadership saw the reporting and saw the value of how it saved me time and saved the talent acquisition team time and created beautiful reports for executives, they were sold. They said, where do we sign up?
That's great stuff. So a question around performance. Can you, and this question is for Steve, can you tie the analytics to performance reviews?
Yeah, good question, Kim. The answer to that is yes. What we're able to do with People Insight is that you can load, along with your requisition data, your turnover data, etc., you can load first-year outcomes. And one of those things that we work with you on is loading performance reviews. If you're a sales-driven organization, there could be quota information that's loaded, so you can start to see time to quota attainment. And what's fantastic about that is not only do you get the quality from the ratings from the survey, but you also combine that with those performance reviews and other business outcomes.
That's great. And do the executives also have access to the data that's in People Insights?
That's a good question, Kim. Currently, I know in the deployment at Loyalty One, they do not, and Adam spoke about that earlier. He produces the monthly executive committee report. Now, his plans down the road may change in terms of turning that on, but within People Insight, it's role-based, so we can turn on any number of users within an organization, and those users, based on their role, can get access to the analytics that best help them in their decision-making, depending on the position within their organization.
Sounds great. And another question for Adam. These are great questions coming from our audience. Did you have to clean up the data before sending it to People Insight, and how easy is it? You mentioned that it's a time that you're certainly saving quite a bit of time in preparing reports, but how long exactly does it take?
That is an excellent question. Yes, we definitely had to clean up the data, and this is where Steve really helped me think about how do we want to pull this data out, what fields or what content is most important, and how should the data be formatted so that it's easily uploaded. So the advantage for me was, I'll focus on the recruiting report that we were producing. We had a pretty robust executive summary, and we had sheet upon sheet for each line of business, and it got pretty complex. And what we had to do is we could just take all that data and put it on one report and then upload that. So from a simplicity perspective, it was excellent. I think for other reporting capabilities, whether it's through your HRIS, you just have to make sure that your talent acquisition team or your HR business partners are accurate in the data that's going in there. Because as you know, bad data in is bad data out, and it'll crush your capability to build relationships with the EC, so executive committees. So what I would say is don't go full tilt on this. Start small and build your way up, because you're better off getting the small things right and building upon that. So what we're doing right now is we've got our core sort of executive committee scorecard and reporting all set, but next month it's going to be different. There's going to be some additional enhancements, and in the following month there's going to be some enhancements, so that they're seeing something new and different each time, and but keeping the core reporting the same.
Good advice, Adam. Question for Steve, and we've been asked this question by a couple of people. The audience has noticed that there's a few different Quirk products, People Insight products. Which version is Loyalty One using, and would you describe this just as a reporting tool? And then second question, does People Insight integrate with other applicant tracking systems like Taleo or perhaps RankNexus?
Yeah, great question. On the first question about different People Insight products, there are 3 offerings that we have for People Insight: a Standard Edition, a Talent Acquisition Edition, and a Deluxe Edition. Adam and the team at Loyalty One are using the Talent Acquisition Edition, and that focuses on providing rich analytics for talent acquisition, both on the side of attract and source with requisitions, candidates, etc., and tying in those first-year outcomes around performance, quality of hire, quota attainment, turnover, etc. The key thing is within People Insight, all of these modules plug together. So while talent acquisition is the front end of the overall people process, the Standard and the Deluxe complement that with a wider variety of analytics that tie to things like promotions, compensation, and other business metrics. The second question around does People Insight integrate with other ATS and Taleo, etc. The answer to that is People Insight does not do a direct connection to a client's ATS system. We found through many years of experience that direct connections to other systems end up with a lot of security challenges and also a lot of overhead from an IT perspective that in the end is not of value. We make it very simple and easy for our clients, regardless of their source ATS system, HRIS system, to simply export that data and do an upload into People Insight. And just for those of you on the line to know, people like Adam here do this export and upload. It's a very simple process and controlled by the business user for, as they need updates, can do that with ease. And we found that that really delivers the flexibility for business users, like those of you on the line, to get the insight you need in a very rapid fashion.
Yeah, to give you an example, I just for people in PeopleSoft, I just set up a automated new hire report that's run, and then I just take that file and upload it to People Insight. It takes no more than 5 minutes.
And Steve, you mentioned security. How do you ensure that the data is secure? I'm sure that's a question that you get asked often, you know, when people are looking to move into like a free trial situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So security from our perspective is of utmost importance. We have a highly secure cloud-based infrastructure for People Insight. It is all on Canadian soil, so the data does not leave Canada. And we post our security statement online for organization security, privacy, and IT groups to review. And the other key thing is that we do regular testing and penetration testing to ensure that we have the highest levels of security. So very important to us, and we take all those measures and put them in place.
Great, thank you. Last question, and then we'll wrap things up. Does People Insight, this is either Adam or Steve, does People Insight have an online tool that recruiters are using specifically that you've developed, or is this always just information that's sent from the organization to People Insight?
Yeah, good question, Kim. So People Insight is an analytics solution. So recruiters and business leaders, heads of talent acquisition, use it to understand and look at the reporting and analytics and dashboards to measure performance, understand trends, etc. They do not do data entry into People Insight. That data is fed from an ATS, from a quality of hire survey, from an HRIS, from a sales system, etc. The other thing, as Adam mentioned, which what we do is based on the data that's brought in and loaded into People Insight, let's say from your HRIS on the hire information, manager information, we will automatically send a survey, quality of hire, exit survey, etc., from People Insight out to the individual to capture that information through the survey. And the nice thing of that is it's fully automated in that you capture the information and it's immediately integrated in with that requisition information, turnover information, etc. And I know Adam mentioned earlier the amount of time that saves and the automation to connect recruiting data to first-year outcomes with quality of hire. We fill that gap.
Yeah, I think what I would recommend is that either, a leader in talent acquisition or a manager in talent acquisition would probably be the point person that would start with the access to this tool. And this tool is not meant to replace an ATS. It's not meant to replace an HRIS system. It's there to leverage and enhance those systems that you still have to have and you have to keep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It really layers on top of an applicant tracking system and allows you to actually understand or interpret and gain insights into what that stack information actually means. Perfect. I know we weren't able to get to everybody's questions. There was some great dialogue and comments. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to participate. Please, if your question was not answered, we'll be providing contact information. Feel free to reach out to Steve, Adam directly, or myself with regards to anything that maybe we haven't covered. Really appreciate Adam taking the time and Steve, who came all the way from Ottawa to actually be here in the head-to-head boardroom, sharing your insights and your key learnings. We are so happy to have made this connection and helped you advance and achieve some of your goals at Loyalty One. You're a bit of a recruiting rock star for us, Adam, so I'm just happy to be part of it.
Thank you.
We are, for everybody, so you're aware, we have recorded this session. We do want to send you a copy. We ask that you also take the time to give us some feedback. We plan on creating, developing other webinars like this, and certainly your feedback on how we might be able to improve or what types of future topics. We'd be very happy for you to take the time to tell us what you think, and we'll send you a copy of the presentation. Also, as Adam mentioned, it's so easy to get started. There's a free demo. I'll be honest, the first time I got in touch with Steve, I thought, oh, this is going to take time, and it's going to be difficult. My data isn't exactly complete. But the reality is, talking from my own experience and what you've heard from Adam, that it is very easy. Steve is so collaborative. He makes it simple, really helps you through the process. And once you get started, that's just the first step. And they really do take the time to work together to make the information come alive and help you achieve some of your business goals as a talent acquisition or HR leader. So encourage you to take the time and check out People Insight, do a free demo. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. Thank you again, everyone. Appreciate. Adam, any final last words for our audience that may still be hanging on?
Just keep it simple. This can get really overwhelming quick. Just start small. That's my advice. Thank you, everybody. Push back, exactly.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a great long weekend.
Bye-bye.